This is Inside Analysis with Any Guy and Jerry Atric. EA Sports. Oh, fuck.
Hello, and welcome to another healthy and completely invigorating edition of Inside Analysis with your host, the man who puts anal in analysis, Any Guy, and my co-host, Jerry Atric. We are sponsored today by Cold Stone Wonderbone Ice Cream. You can get it in Like It, Love It, or Gotta Have It, but it's going to make your girl have to like, love, and gotta have you. Now, this week, we got some breaking news. The first breaking news we have to get to is my health. I'm all back and completely better because I went down to beautiful downtown Philadelphia and sold my swine flu off at the Spectrum. Somebody bought it. Now someone's home, bed sick, and probably on their deathbed with the swine flu. But I'm back here ready for our breaking news segment. Jerry Atric, take us in.
Well, it is glorious indeed that you have recovered and come back to us any live here at Inside Analysis. But let's get to the first topic in the NFL for breaking news, and that is the Cowboys. In particular, Jerry Jones decided to fire Wade Phillips. Everyone in the world saw this coming, even Stevie Wonder.
That is excellent analysis by you. We tried to get Stevie Wonder on to get his thoughts on Jerry Jones being fired, but apparently he couldn't really see the phone well enough to dial our number. That's unfortunate for him, but...
maybe he should have had Tony Romo help him dial the digits, because he was, in fact, in the program a couple weeks ago.
You know, maybe we can set that up one time. Jerry Jones should have fired him sooner. Now you're going to pay for it. Your team sucks this season anyway. Don't feel that bad. Now let's move on to our next topic this week, and it's going to be the Green Bay Packers releasing cornerback Al Harris, a former Pro Bowler. Give us your thoughts on that, Jerry Atric.
Yeah, I mean, emphasis on the word former. He's really not played up to par this season, and Tramon Williams has stepped in pretty well and filled the shoes of Al Harris, and now Al Harris is down south in Miami and is a Miami Dolphin, and yeah, that equation spells, well, I guess, trouble for teams in the AFC East.
Well, I guess, that's only if Al Harris, he said he hasn't played well this season. He hasn't played at all this season. He's on the PUP list to start the season. He hasn't come back yet from ACL surgery. He's a 35-year-old man trying to come off ACL surgery. The Packers have good things going. They've got Tramon Williams, possible Pro Bowler. Sam Shields, they think they can grow to a Pro Bowl level. They didn't want to release anybody to bring Al Harris back to the active roster. You let him go. The Finns take a chance on a guy who might have lost not just a step, but his whole legs altogether. So... that's about all I have to say about that. Jerry Atric, tell us our next topic.
Well, our final topic in the breaking news segment, if you had the swine flu last week, it's like the swine flu of the NFL. Helmet-to-helmet contact. Nick Collins fined $50,000 for a violent and volatile hit on wide receiver Roy Williams in the last Sunday's game, the Packers against the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, my feeling on that is I don't think it really was an intentional violent or volatile hit. I think he just went in, tried to lead in with his shoulder, draw the ball loose from Roy Williams. Roy Williams fell, and Nick Collins' helmet happened to collide with heads. I feel it was an incidental occurrence, and I think the NFL has to distinguish between incidental and malicious intent. They better figure it out, or everyone's wallet getting a lot lighter is going to make the NFL got a lot heavier in negative feedback.
Well, that's a valid point, Annie, but at the same time, when you're up by 20, 25 points, there is really no need to lay that kind of hit on a semi-defenseless receiver in Roy Williams. That could in some ways be what the league was looking at when they decided to place the fine on Nick Collins. Either way, the man has lost a lot of change this week.
Yeah, that's, we can argue that one to our deathbeds, but unfortunately we don't have the kind of, time for that on this program. We're going to have to wrap it up on this. That's this week's edition of Breaking News here. And now it's time to move on to our next segment.
Are you serious?
And this week, the Are You Serious goes absolutely to the Miami Heat with the big three, the 3 degrees of separation, the triple threat, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. People say, just add water, you've got a championship. Doesn't look that way, does it? No. You go and play the Utah Jazz. The only thing they got going for him in, pretty much franchise history, some people would say, is Deron Williams. You stop him, you stop the Jazz. No, the Heat turn around and say, we're going to let Paul Millsap explode for 46 points on us. A power forward puts up 46 points on the Miami Heat last night. 3 3-pointers in a span of 30 seconds. He was 2 for 20 in 3-pointers in his career before last night. The Heat had no presence in the middle. He was dominating them on the boards, made the last-second shot to send him to overtime. Paul Millsap puts up 46. Deron Williams still gets a double-double with 21 points and 14 rebounds. Jerry Atric, lead him to the clip.
Well, as Annie said, just go ahead and take a look at the clip and look at the damage that the Utah Jazz did to the Miami Heat.
Ridiculous.
Are you serious, Miami?
That's exactly right, Miami. We're just going to leave you with that. Step your game up. You're not even going to be in the finals because you're not even going to get out of your own conference.
LeBron
Miami,
who?
LeBron who? That's excellent. LeBron who? Wade who? What? You want to say got milk? You better get an answer if you're Miami. Are you serious? Well, after that downing piece of dreadful news from the Miami Heat, we're going to give you fans something to pick you right back up again. It's a brand new segment we're excited to bring you. It's a nice interview segment we're going to have every week with the longtime Green Bay Packer great, former New York Jet, and current Minnesota Viking Green Bay Packer, Playboy quarterback, Minnesota Viking Green Bay Packer, previous, the Playboy quarterback himself, Brett Favre, is going to join us every week on Banter with Brett.
Banter! Banter! Banter with Brett! Banter with Brett! Can he shove his penis?
Yes, he can.
Does he take a lot of pictures?
Just ask Jen.
Well, that's why I'm famous for my picks.
Well, Brett, first and foremost, it is a pleasure to have you here on Inside Analysis. My first question for you is, who is Randy Moss to you now that he is on the Tennessee Titans?
Randy Moss is Randy Moss. By the way, I looked for him. He told me to throw a pick after the coin toss. I wanted to tell him I didn't.
Well, that's interesting.
Wow, I guess now that he's not on the team anymore, Randy Moss wants Brett to be his old self and start chucking up picks.
Randy Moss is Randy Moss.
And you heard it right from Brett Favre there. Now, Brett, my question for you that I want to ask, everyone wants to talk about all the things you do on the field. I want to know, what are your plans for this week after the game is over?
Ladies, but the sooner I can get to that, the better. Doesn't matter what city it's in.
I guess Brett Favre has his priorities in check.
I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good way to spend a weekend. If you're me, I would think. You're right from a football game, you're making millions of dollars to ladies. That's absolutely
anytime, anywhere.
And hopefully with any guy, if I got lucky. But Brett, moving right along, I just want to know. Speaking of the ladies, how are you able to block and hold off and keep this thing with Jen Sturger quiet for so long?
Believe me, that was not easy.
Okay, do you want to elaborate on that, Brett?
Well, was it difficult? I mean, how did Jen go ahead and respond to your repeated text messages, Brett?
What do you want Daddy to do? Whatever you want to do, Daddy.
Wow, it seems to me that Jen Sturger was a little bit kinky, Brett.
Wow, I'll tell you what, Brett Favre, congratulations on that. That is really great to hear that. I'm happy for you.
Daddy's little girl.
Man, I mean, damn, at 40 years old, he's out there making things like that happen. Brett, I admire you for that, and I just want to thank you so much for doing the program and giving us a few minutes every week. And I want to say good luck this week with your your suck relationship with your coach, and now not having Randy Moss.
Thanks for reminding me.
Had to get that nice shot in there with that. That was great.
Well, thanks for that, Brett. We look forward to having you back each and every week for that segment. Now, let's go ahead now and bring in the Fan Stand, where we take questions from you fans at home and we give our inside analysis. You weren't here for that last week, but guess what? You're here now.
That's right. I'm excited to be a part of it this week. And as we set up our questions for this week, I just want to remind you guys, you can send in your own questions at facebook.com/insideanalysis, twitter.com/insideanalysis, or of course you can leave comments below on the video here on YouTube and let us know your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. You can also Facebook me or Jerry Atric on Facebook.
Well, the first question comes from us from Shelby in New Jersey. Shelby writes, Dear Eddie and Jerry, what is the best play in the history of the NFL? Can I take this?
Go ahead, go for it. I want to hear it. Speak it to me, brother. Speak it to me.
The best play in the NFL history is when the New York Giants were going up against the 18-0 New England Patriots. You know, that Super Bowl from, a couple years ago, when David Tyree launches himself high into the air, hands outstretched to the heavens, and holds the football where? But on the top of his helmet. Comes all the way down to the field, crashing down with Rodney Harrison and 3 other Patriot defensive backs on his back, and still maintains possession. And that was the play that inevitably led the Giants to the game-winning touchdown. That is the best play I personally have ever seen in the National Football League.
That's a great pick by you. If you're going National Football League, the folklore behind it, everything that's around it, I got to go to the best play I've ever seen. Not the most athletic, not the most spectacular or anything, but I got to go with the Immaculate Reception just because it is, stood the test of time for so long. It's something that's still debated to this day, and it's one of those things where no one ever really knows, did you catch the ball? Did you not? What really happened? It's a classic, and I'm going to stick with it for that reason.
Well, my vote is he caught it.
All right, well, there you go. Now we have Nick in Maryland who asked this week, Dear Annie and Jerry, who do you think the Redskins are a contender or a pretender for the playoffs going forward in this season?
That, I'm not really sure if there's a clear-cut answer to that. I guess it depends on how many bowls of Campbell's soup Donovan McNabb chooses to eat prior to the football game. I'm gonna have to say no, not contender, but pretender. Look for them to be at the bottom of the NFC East along with the Cowboys.
Absolutely, I'm going to have to agree with that. I'm going to say they will finish probably better than the Cowboys just because of the pedigree of the fact that they have a Hall of Fame quarterback, possibly Donovan McNabb. They have Mike Shanahan, who's a 2-time Super Bowl winning MVP, coach MVP. He had the MVP, John Elway. Anyway, with that pedigree, despite the fact that McNabb is apparently out of shape, doesn't know the playbook, doesn't know the terminology, he's black, he's not Rex Grossman, all these things that make him not the Redskins quarterback, I guess. I see that combustibility right there. And the fact that McNabb will not be back from the Redskins as a long-term option at their quarterback position. They're not going to be contenders this season. They're definitely pretenders. But there's actually another part to this question. Nick also wants to know, Jerry, how are your muscles so big?
Well, Nick, 3 letters. HGH. Human growth hormone.
Wow, that's probably a disappointing answer for Nick. Hopefully he remains a fan. We're not promoting HGH. We're just saying if you want to look like Jerry, you should use it.
Now, hold on a second. Cheetahs never win, but they do get the ladies.
I guess they must look pretty good, is what Nick thinks. Does that concern you at all? Well, anyway, let's just move on to our next question.
The next and last question in the fan stand comes from David in Atlanta. David writes, who is the better wide receiver? Chad Ochocinco or Terrell Owens?
I'm sorry. Really? I just figured if we were going to have questions on bandstand, they'd be questions that maybe would, require thought or, weren't completely obvious. Let's just look at the career numbers. Who has more touchdowns? Ochocinco. Not even 100, probably 53 touchdowns.
I think I have the answer.
Or something like that. How about T.O. is up here, only
Ding.
the third receiver in NFL history with 150 touchdowns in his career, 151. He caught those 2 last week. He's still playing at a high level, 6 touchdowns this season, 2 last week. He's playing great. Ochocinco's crying about not getting the ball. He's too busy about his reality TV and his gold teeth. Ochocinco has always had maybe one of the biggest mouths in NFL history, but he's nowhere near one of the best receivers. T.O. is at that spot, and he's much better even now than Ochocinco. You can take that to the bank, David from Atlanta.
Yes, definitely similarities. They both talk a lot, but the big difference is T.O. is producing a lot more this year. Well, fans, it appears we are all out of time for this week's episode of Inside Analysis.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. As always, leave some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. For Jerry Atric, I'm Any Guy, and we'll see you next week on Inside Analysis.